innocence has been taken away, and
Yes, it
this very
has.
rough, rather crude, but manipulative way.
Yeah, yeah,
But there seems to be something more going on. When I read it with my jaundiced male eyes, I think, oh, what an operator. you know,
yeah,
but you add, um, besides, it had not been just a phase of seduction. It had been such a phase superimposed on something else.
yeah.
I felt something like love,
Mhm.
something like love. Perhaps all seduction has something like love behind it. I couldn't say. I had no idea what to do. It seemed to me that the love fragment between us should be pursued backward on the timeline to where it had veered away from us, or forward in time to where we could recapture it.
Mhm.
So that had an authority, you might say, for you. That element of love, subterranean as it was, and yet I think you're feeling nevertheless very discernible, as the beneath all this manipulative stuff, obscured by it,
Yes.
obscured by the crudity, but even people with crude worldviews and crude manners and methods can actually be in love.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the, people can read this in a politically correct fashion and just say, what a rat. But the problem was my ruination, my defloration, all that he was building in the way of a strategic battle plan was his as well. I knew that he was in love the way those things. And I wouldn't be prepared to write a treatise on how those things, but you do. You know, an animal, a dog can tell, hey, that's a bad guy. A horse can tell that person can ride me. That other person shouldn't even think about it. So these certainties exist on the intuitive level, and argument comes in later to try to explain the certainties. And people have psychoanalytic theories and which sort of dispose of and deprecate and deny such feelings and say they're delusive and compensatory and blah 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 blah. And how's your life, lady? I want to hear about the deficiencies of mine when yours are printed all over you. Uh, so no, you have to take these things seriously. If you're painting a flower, the flower is new. You can't say, oh, here's a stencil for flower and put it on top of the real flower. You have to look at it. So I knew he hadn't just ruined, in a way, my initiation. He'd never been in love, so far as he told me, and I believed that. And he'd ruined his own. So I was sorry, and the pity came, I think, from the love. I sort of wanted to redo the whole script and get it right this time. You can't rewrite the past. You can't make the first um, loss of innocence come back again and do that right. It can't be redone. There are things in life like that. A lot of things can't be redone. They can be forgotten. They can be outgrown. You can't redo the beginning. And so but I didn't quite know that yet. I was inexperienced erotically on many levels. I wondered, you know, you have a responsibility to first love. Can't you do something to make it okay? Can't you repair what's been broken? What do you do? Just walk away saying, nobody treats me like that? I salute the woman who can do that, more power to you, babe. But I was interested in, there are people who paint in oils and they don't keep their colors clean. They smush them together thinking that's modern, that's uninhibited, that's um, really getting in there. No, you want to paint, you want each color to be distinct, and somehow they've been smushed, you know, together, and that's not how you paint. So I was concerned, get the original colors back, and I didn't know, perhaps it was an open question, is that still possible? Maybe he didn't know either. Uh, he was distracted by his triumph and distracted from his catastrophic failure.
Yeah, it's very striking in the what then the next page is. He continues courting you. We might put a nice term on it. The seduction continues,
Yeah.
and it has this mix of the materialism, the reductionism, the crude elements, the manipulation, but
Yeah.
intermixed, also perhaps manipulatively, was rhapsodic language.
Yes.
You're the ideal feminine.
Yeah.
You're like Dante's who's a
Beatrice.
Beatrice,
Yeah. Yeah.
just the girl he's in love with, who leads him then through heaven, I guess, in the Divine Comedy.
Through
And
hell,
you're like that.
purgatory, and heaven. Yeah.
Yeah,
Leads him up. The eternal feminine leads one above.
yeah, the eternal feminine. You're the eternal embodiment, the present version of the eternal feminine. And he does that just eloquently,
Yes.
and by your discernment, also with an element of truth, that was part of the situation.
Yes.
He was manipulative and had these crude aspects and a worldview that justified them, and yet he had a kind of romantic draw that
Yes.
was of true love
Yeah.
underneath it, a fragment. So he wasn't a person you could ever marry because he's just not suitable in any respect for a life together. And
Yeah.
yet there's this phenomenon of love as part of it. And so you do end up going to bed with him, going all the way, as they say, at which point, by the ethos of the time and by your own self understanding, as it were, uh, you're kind of ruined. You have no
Yes.
future. You can't marry him. Now, by the norms of the time, unless you cover it up in some way, you can't, you're damaged goods, as you put it
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
moment ago. You can't do anything. And at that point, you go down by the riverbank
Mhm.
and consider doing what the women in similar situations in Russian novels do, you
Mhm.
tell us.
Yeah.
And you say, you ponder this question: should I just throw myself in
Mhm.
and escape it all
Mhm.
and become at one with the water, or something like that?
Yeah.
And then you want, well, where am I then? And I haven't lived it out to its end, but you're
Mhm.
pondering this. Should you
Yeah.
just give it all up and end your life here? And you reason about it because you're a woman, but also a philosopher.
Yeah.
And here's your reasoning: if my innocence and life were the same, then in some sense both were ended,
Mhm.
and I should opt for the river. If the long horizontal night of embraces had anything to add, its claims were still unmet, and I should choose to know them.
Mm.
If philosophy had anything to teach me, it had not done that yet, and I should go on with the argument for the sake of the unfinished love of wisdom. So you've got to live out the love. It
Yeah.
sounds like you're saying you got to live out the romantic love to see what is there
Hmm.
and to come to understand it.
Yeah.
But this is also part of the philosophical pursuit of wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom isn't off somewhere else the way you talk about these things. It's found in living out and thinking the best you can about these sort of moments. So these, in this case, what seems like an impossible thing.
Mhm.
You can't live with him, not can't live without him, as they say.
Yes,
And
yes.
there you are with an element of love that you have
Mm.
not yet fully explored
Yeah.
and you haven't certainly not yet fully understood. Something like that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And why was that important to you? I mean, a lot of people would say, okay, when some lose some, go on.
Oh, how about win all, lose all, and how to go on? You know, no, no, no. Those worldly people have nothing in common with me. They're on plan D. No, 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 no. You have to go back to the beginning to, the first, before you were disillusioned, where were you headed? And it wasn't clear to me that we couldn't be repaired. It wasn't clear to me that th- there were so many unanswered questions. Philosophy has a dynamic to it, a magnetism. It pulls you, as Plato knew, in the direction of its own kind of fulfillment, up the ladder of dialectical um, comprehension, one rung atop the one below, and so on. And I hadn't been able to climb very high indeed. I was on rung 1.5. Uh, I had wanted to understand the French, the Tristan myth, the meaning of my first love. There were many things that I wanted to understand in the course of a larger search for understanding. And now they threaten to pull me down, you know, this failure of expectations, this loss of social and su other supports, intimate self-containedness, um, this this trespass against the vulnerabilities of my first youth that had interrupted a quest for understanding, but it had not supplied the understanding. It had not answered the questions. It had obscured them in a way, distracted me. What did I originally want? It's like somebody beginning to make a speech or write a poem and declaim it, and then getting very distracted, perhaps by something of mixed value, partly wonderful, partly hopeless. And where was I? What was I saying when I got interrupted? So I was aware of something not finished. Perhaps in since then in my adult life, I've talked two people out of committing suicide, two women, and in both cases, the I wasn't thinking it through as a technique, but what I did was ask, what did you originally want that has been so disappointed that you now think death is the only solution. Are you sure that you know all about why it was disappointed? What in you made you available for such a disappointment? Have you cased the whole situation? Do you know that it's hopeless, or are you rushing to judgment about your own career in and through your time? So that's what came to me, perhaps as a philosophe. It wasn't that I was scared of the water, it was that I was scared. Perhaps I was dropping out of the class before I'd completed the assignments that belong to that course of study.